Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So if we imagine we've got the 25 metre pipe here, and we've got the 35 metre pipe here. The question's basically asking us what can we cut all these pipes into, and they all have to be the same length that will fit with the 25 metre and the 35 metre. And essentially what this question's asking is, what is the highest common factor of 25 and 35? So to find the highest common factor, what we do is we just find the factors of 25, which is 1, 25, and 5, and 5, and the factors of 35, which will be 1 and 35, and 5 and 7. And the highest common factor is the number in both lists, the highest number in both lists, so it's 5. So what we can do is we can cut all of these pipes into 5 metre pipes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, not to scale, and then 7 of these. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and so there's 7 in total. So each of these are 5 metre long, and there's no wastage. And that's the longest we can make the pipes for there to be no wastage at all. So my answer is 5 metres. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared, and 49 squared is 2401, and 68 squared is 4624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down, and we're going to start by subtracting the 2401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148. We've just worked that out, and we're looking for c. In fact, we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared, and we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its 2 decimal places, so that will be 61.19. Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going till I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to start off just with a quick sketch, and we know that the bearing of B from A is 85 degrees. So we're going to have A here and B here. And let's just draw a line between them. And let's do both our north lines. And so we know that this angle here is 85 because it's the angle on the bearing of B from A, so it's 85 degrees. So now it says work out the bearing of A from B. So the first thing we can do is actually just draw a line going down here, and we know that this angle here will also be 85 degrees because of alternate angles. It's always best to write that down somewhere, so we can just put in brackets here alternate angles, and we know that this angle here is going to be 180 degrees because it's a straight line. And I'm not a fan of doing the reasons on the diagram, so maybe perhaps I should have labelled this an X and this a Y and written X equals 85 and Y equals 180 somewhere else. And so to work out what the bearing is, I just need to do 180 plus 85. So 180 plus 85 is going to be 265 degrees. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. So for this question, what we need to do is factorise 4t plus 6. Now factorise means put it into brackets. So if I try, what I can do is I can actually put a 1 on the outside here. So 1 times 4t plus 6 is 4t plus 6, but the question clearly states that it is higher than 1. So we need to find another number that's higher than 1 to factorise this with. So if we look at 4t and 6, well, they're both in the 2 times table. So I can put a 2 on the outside here. 2 times 2t is 4t, and 2 times 3 is 6. So what we can do is we can just check that out with smiles and rainbows. Put all my times down there to remind me to times it. So 2 times 2t is 4t, 2 times 3 is 6. So that works because that is the same as this in the question. So we know that 2 times 2t plus 3 works. In fact, it's the only one that works with it being an integer. So we therefore know that the known side, because it says it's a known number, is 2. And the other side will be 2t plus 3. And then when you multiply them together, you get the area of 4t plus 6. So our answer, because it says the length is the known number, so that's the length, then we're finding the width, which is this one here. So it's 2t plus 3. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55. And it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X. So it's going to be 0.55x. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15. So you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55x plus 15. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in. And we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph. And so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are minus 1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be -4, and 11 take away 14 is -3. Then I go pick a point on my shape, and the bottom or the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a -3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. So we need to first of all work out what the length of the side of the square is. And to do that, what we do is we get the 44v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we just divide it by 4. And to do that, all we need to do is just divide the coefficient by 4. So it'd be 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5. Some people will try and do something with the v to the power 4 w to the power 5, but if you think about it, if I just draw out my square, if it's 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5 all the way around, when you add, you don't add the v to the power 4 w to the power 5. It's just going to be 11 lots, another 11 lot, another lot of 11, and another lot of 11. So it's 44 v to the power 4 w to the power 5 in total. And to work out what the area is, we obviously are going to square that. So we're going to do 11 v to the power 4 w to the power 5, and we're going to just times it by itself, which is what squaring means. Okay, so we're going to times the 11s together, so that's going to be 121. Going to times the v to the power 4s together, and remember with indices, if you times two powers of the same base, and they're both v, then we just add the powers together, so that'd be 8. And we're going to add the w to the power 5s together, so that makes 10. So it's 121 v to the power of 8, w to the power of 10. With this question, you've just got to know what the different functions look like. So with C and D, we've got quadratic functions. One's a positive quadratic, which is a U shape. One's a negative quadratic, which is a kind of upside down U shape or an N shape. And here we don't have that, so we can get rid of those in our thoughts straight away. A is a positive cubic, which goes up, then down, then up again. And B is a negative cubic, which goes down, up, and then down again. So this one here goes up, down, up again. That's going to be a positive cubic. So our answer is A. When solving simultaneous equations graphically, if you draw the lines to both graphs, which we have done here, the solutions, or solution, because they're both linear, will just be where the two graphs cross. So this here will be our solution. So x is 2 and y is -4. So when we find the mean of something, we add the elements together and we divide them by the amount of elements. So here we've got 3 elements. So what we're going to do is add these together and then divide by 3. Now the problem is that the denominators are not the same, so we can't add them yet. But they're all factors of 45. So we're going to times top and bottom of the first one by 9. So we end up with 9k over 45. We're going to times top and bottom by 3. And so it would be 3 brackets k plus 1 over 45. And the last one is over 45, so we don't need to do anything for that. Then we can just add the numerators together. And I'm just going to expand the bracket here, so it's 3k plus 3 plus k plus 4. And then all of that over 45. And then we're going to do 9k plus 3k plus k, which is going to be 13k. And then 3 plus 4, which is just 7 over 45. So the sum of them is 13k plus 7 over 45. So to work out the mean, we need to divide it by 3. But instead of writing divide by 3, we know KFC, keep, flip, change. If you have a division, you keep the first fraction, you change the divide into a times, and you flip the second fraction. So a different and easier way of writing that is times 1/3. So here we just keep the numerator the same because we're timesing it by 1. And then the bottom we just times by the 3, which would be 135. So our answer is 13k plus 7 over 135. So we're going to first of all find out how many potatoes were below 22 grams. So we're going to draw a line up at 22 and a line across, and that is 13. So there are 13 potatoes below 22 grams. And so to work out the probability of picking one below 22 grams, it's the amount that we have below that amount, or below that weight, over the total amount of potatoes, which will be 20. So it'd be 13 over 20, which is equal to 65 over 100. So that would be 65%. So we're going to start by labeling the sides here. So we've got capital A up here, little a down here. It doesn't matter which one you label. Capital B here, little b here, and capital C here, little c here. So you notice the C's aren't really involved at all, but we've got the two A's, we've got the capital A and the lowercase a, and we've got the capital B and the lowercase b as part of the question. And so when you've got a pair or two pairs of angle and sides, you are going to be using the sine rule. And so the sine rule says that sine capital A over lowercase a is equal to sine capital B over lowercase b. Now you might be wondering why I've put sine A and sine B at the top, when sometimes this is written as the lowercase a and lowercase b at the top. Well, if we're looking for the angle, which we are here, we're looking for capital A, you put the angles at the top. If you're looking for the length, you put the lengths at the top. Okay, so we're going to fill this in. So sine, we're just going to leave that as sine A, because it's just, or sine x actually, shouldn't it be? Sine x over, and then lowercase a is 6, equals sine B, the angle is 35, over lowercase b, which is 7. Okay, we're going to work out what the right hand side is. So that's going to be 0.081 blah blah blah. And then we're going to be solving this. And the first thing we're going to do is times by 6 both sides. So we get sine x is equal to 0.491 blah blah blah. And then we're going to inverse sine both sides. And so we have x equals 29.448 blah blah blah. And our answer wants to be rounded to 2 decimal places. So we're going to put our answer as 29.45 degrees. So we're told in the question that y is inversely proportional to the cube of x. So we can show that by y is proportional, there's proportionality, inversely, which would be 1 over the cube of x. Now to convert that alpha, the proportionality symbol, into an equals, we need to introduce a constant to the right hand side. So we get y equals k over x cubed. And all I've done to the right hand side is multiplied it by k. Okay, now we need an instance where we know what y is when x is something, and here we do have that, or it should be the other way around. What y is, well, yeah, what y is when x is something. So we've got y is 10 and x is 7. So we're going to feed those numbers into this kind of equation that we've made. So it's going to be 10 equals k over 7 cubed, or 10 equals k over 343. Okay. And then we're going to multiply both sides by the 343. So times by 343 both sides to find out what k is. And I'm just going to swap them around just to give myself a bit more space. And we're going to have k on the left hand side here. So that would be 3,430. So k is 3,430. So what I'm going to do is just rewrite this equation here. But we know what k is now. So it's y equals 3,430 over x cubed. And that actually is our answer. Whenever you're asked to work out a proportion of items in a histogram, you can actually do it by just counting the squares. So in the first bar, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 squares here. The next one, you've got kind of 4 half squares, so that'll be 2 squares in total. And then we've got 4 squares in the last one. So altogether we have, for the amount of squares, we have 12 plus 2 plus 4, which will be 18. So it's 18 squares in total. Now it says that we're looking for between 25, which will be here, and 45, which will be here. So we count the squares in this little interval. So there are 3 here, and there's half a 1 here. So the squares between 25 and 45, I should say dash 45, 25 to 45 is 3.5. Okay, so we've got 3.5 in total, or 3.5 out of a possible 18. So we just need to do 3.5 divided by 18 to work out the proportion, and that gives us 0.194 blah blah blah. It says it wants its 2 decimal places, that would be 0.19. To solve when we've got 2 equations that aren't linear, and here we've got a linear and a circle equation, what we're going to do is we're going to solve by substitution. We're going to substitute one into the other. So here we're told that y is equal to 3x plus 11, and we actually have a y in our second equation. So what we're going to do is just substitute it in. So we've got x squared plus, and instead of y, I'm going to say what the first equation is. I'm just going to replace it for what y equals in the first equation, which is 3x plus 11. And it's y squared, so it's that squared, equals 125. Okay. Now we need to expand the brackets there. And so we're going to have x squared, and you can use any method you want. And don't forget, when you square brackets, that's just going to be 3x plus 11 brackets 3x plus 11. So we're going to do 3x squared, which is 9x. So how are we going to write this? So plus 9x squared. And then we've got 3x times 11 plus 3x times 11, which is 33x plus 33x, which is 66x. And then we've got 11 times 11, which is 121. Now at this point, we want everything to equal 0, because it is a quadratic. So to solve it, we need it to equal 0. So we're just going to tidy it up and add the bits that need to be added. And we're also going to subtract 125 both sides to get it equal to 0. So x squared plus 9x squared is going to be 10x squared. So we might as well just write it as 10x squared. We've got 66x just on its own. And we've got 121, take away 125, which is minus 4, equal to 0. Now it says it wants our answers to 2 decimal places, so chances are these won't factorise nicely, so we're going to be using the quadratic formula. And so we need to find out what a, b and c are. So a is the number before the x squared, the coefficient of the x squared, which is 10. B is the coefficient of the x, which is 66. And c is the number on its own at the end, which is minus 4. The quadratic formula will be minus b, and I always put the values we substitute into brackets, because if they're negative, that really helps us. Plus minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all of that over 2 times a. When you put that as a plus, then into the calculator, we get x equals 0.060 blah blah blah, and when you put a minus there, we get the answer of minus 6.660 blah blah blah. Now you might think, well, how are we going to find out what the y's are? Well, if x is 0.06 blah blah blah, we've got an equation here that says to find out what y is, we times the x by 3 and we add 11. So we're going to times that first solution by 3, then add 11, and that gives us that y is 11.180 blah blah blah. We're going to do that with the next solution, and we're going to times it by 3 and add 11. And when we do that, we get minus 8.980 blah blah blah. We're going to round each of these to 2 decimal places. So we've got 0.06 and 11.18. And the second set of solutions is minus 6.66 and y equals minus 8.98. So we have the original y equals fx shown in the graph, and it says it has a minimum at 1 minus 1, so this one is the black line here. And we're looking to see the new function, the red function, but we notice that actually it looks very similar. It's a U shape for what we can see. It might not be a quadratic, but it looks like a quadratic. And we notice that the point at the bottom has shifted left 1, 2, 3 spaces. Now it's tempting to think that the new function will be f brackets x minus 3. That would be what would be tempting to do. But when you're looking at transforming graphs along the x-axis, it's actually the opposite of what you think. So the actual answer is f brackets x plus 3. So this one would be wrong. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.